Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast, dated August 25th, 2023. It's been a very rough few days for the wrestling community, pro wrestling community. We lost two legends. Of course, Terry Funk, the legendary wrestler of many decades and many styles and all that. We lost him, age 79. He's been sick for a while, so obviously his death was not a surprise. We've been hearing reports for about a year or so that his health has been up and down the last couple the year or so. So his passing was not a shock. Obviously, we thoughts and prayers go to the Funk family, obviously, and thank you for everything he brought to the business. You know, obviously his time with WWF and NWA and even some time at ECW and all this stuff, and the hardcore stuff he did. You know, work with Mankind, Mick Foley, and all that. He's truly a legend in this business. Like, you can really make an argument. Like, I wouldn't put him in my Mount Rushmore, obviously, but you make an argument that Terry Funk, when you look at everything he's done and how long his career was, like, if you were starting a all-time top 10 list of pro wrestlers, I'm not saying favorites, just saying guys that impacted his business in a way that brought pro wrestling as a whole what it is today. Terry Funk has a very good argument to be in the top 10. Just based on the career, again, the longevity, the relevancy, and the different styles and things he did in the business. So, you know, like I said, Terry Funk's death, not a surprise, still sad, but at the same time, you know, perspective, and, you know, we're thankful for everything Terry Funk brought to the table as a wrestling fan. I'm appreciative of it. So, rest in peace for Terry Funk. The shocking passing, however, was when we found out yesterday about Bray Wyatt, a.k.a. Wyndham Rotunda, who passed away yesterday. And he's been up and down in the company, WWE, for the last couple of years. Remember, he left in 2021 to deal with mental health issues. He got released by the company. I actually think he requested his release at the time, too. Came back late last year, had a short run, and then he was, after Royal Rumble, he was gone. And we didn't know was it because of creative? Was it because of an injury? Was it because of other things he's dealing with outside of pro wrestling? And then we heard reports, like little reports over the last couple months about, you know, he's been doing some health issues. But then we kept hearing also, too, especially in recent weeks, leading to SummerSlam, we were hearing, too, that he would be on the way back. Like, people expect him to be come back very soon. I heard a report, actually, as close as a week ago, saying that we could be seeing Bray Wyatt on our screens very, very soon, before the end of this year. And he fast-forwarded today. Well, yesterday, rather. And, you know, our good friend in the podcast, Big Jim, James Neese, sent a text into our Tech 3 Wrestling group chat. And it was Triple H's, tweet announcement that indeed he had passed away. And I had to read that 3 times to make sure what I was reading was real, and make sure it was not like his dad, the Rotunda father, IRS. It's like, wow, it's Wyndham. It's Bray Wyatt. And that thing gutted me. And it gutted me because I feel like with Bray Wyatt, a lot of his character and his work he's done with WWE in the last decade or so, there's some, I really always felt there was some reality to that, into what he was doing. The dark character of Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, the whole nine. There was some reality to that. Him dealing with his mental health, especially, too. I didn't have the pleasure of watching Bray Wyatt as Husky Harris in real time at NXT. Didn't have a chance to watch Bray Wyatt in real time. His first, 5-6 years in the company. I didn't have a chance. I didn't have an opportunity to watch it because I wasn't watching the product at the time. But, in those years of me not watching wrestling prior to coming back in 2019, you always hear the names, the John Cenas, the Randy Ortons, the Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, the big names. And Bray Wyatt was one of those names was always you always hear Bray Wyatt. This guy's Bray Wyatt, and this guy is really creative, and this guy is the Undertaker, next Undertaker type guy in terms of creativity, the character. And then when I got into the product in 2019, this is when around the time he started doing his Firefly Funhouse stuff and The Fiend. And watching that product, watching him those couple years, I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. This guy's incredible. The character, he wasn't necessarily the greatest in-ring worker, but it didn't matter. That didn't matter. The guy made us care. And I felt, like I said earlier, I felt like a lot of his personal things that he was dealing with, outside of wrestling, mental health stuff, I really felt that came into his work. It portrayed in his work with how he did the Bray Wyatt characters and, and all the evolution of the things he did. And, when Brody Lee, his partner, passed away in 2020, after going to AEW, and he passed away, we heard that Bray Wyatt was their best friends, and that he was absolutely gutted. So much, I believe, that when he left in 2021 and asked for his release following WrestleMania 37, I feel like the Brody's death was the catalyst for him having to go away and deal with his demons. He came back, of course, and all that, but now there's now a health issue. And most of all, I'm gutted because of the fact that this is a man who has a wife and 4 kids, and most of his kids are young. This guy's only 36 years old, and you see that. That's the part that hits me as a father of 2 young kids, and I'll be not to get morbid here, but even now, in a lot of ways, I still think about mortality a lot, especially after announcing on my podcast, on my other podcast, back in March, that I was type 2 diabetic, and me being more conscious of my health and all this kind of stuff. It made me really, really think about things. So when I hear when I see these deaths, whether it be a friend of mine or a celebrity or someone I was invested in, it brings back all those thoughts. Last night's no exception with Bray Wyatt, and again, a guy that was younger than I am, with 4 kids and a wife he left behind. He was special. I saw someone on Twitter, post something, I think last night, and basically saying, describe Bray Wyatt in one word. And I said it was easy. Unique. He was unique. I would say after The Undertaker, the best character in the history of WWE, possibly in all of pro wrestling. And to be honest with you, I think Taker has longevity that helps the argument of him being the greatest character of all time. Longevity helps. 30 years in WWE, one of the pillars, or whatever you want to call it, of the company. Not the company, but one of the most important figures in the company. But I would argue Bray Wyatt is almost just as great a character itself when you consider the creativity of what he did. The evolution of the Bray Wyatt character is at least close to on levels as Undertaker in terms of creativity. Yeah, it's a sad day. Pro wrestling is going through a lot. And it's funny, the pro wrestling community is very tight-knit in those ways. We get these reminders, these deaths. I remember when Owen Hart passed away tragically in 1999 after the the pay-per-view in 99. I remember feeling very depressed after that. Remember all these deaths. I obviously I wasn't watching when Eddie Guerrero passed away, but I remember the somber, the sadness around the people who watch wrestling. And then all legends that pass away. Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, you name it. Roddy Piper. And Brody Lee passed away in 2020. That one gutted everybody too. This one's gonna hurt for a while because Bray Wyatt is one of the most important characters of the last decade or so. In a time where the WWE is flourishing again. So, to Terry Funk, obviously, 879, rest in power. To Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, rest in power. I hope God gives. I pray that God gives strength to his wife, his 4 kids, because this is gonna be this is gonna hit for a while. It's gonna hurt for a while. This one, reading all the tributes on social media, very very touching. So that's all I gotta say about that. Again, rest in peace to Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, and till next Unfiltered podcast, we'll talk soon.